So I've done a lot of videos where I talk about how to stay on track as an adjuster, how not to get overwhelmed, but what do you do when you're already overwhelmed?
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag.
Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keila Treshawn and I make videos on lifestyle, insurance, and mental health. I also do vlogs, day in life in the insurance industry, day in life with a toddler, all the things. So if that's something that interests you, go on ahead and click the subscribe button below and be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back and thank you for your support. Okay, so as I kind of preface, I do videos talking about just like how to stay on track. Like if you work in insurance, if you work in insurance and if you are familiar with the industry, you know that it is very easy to get overwhelmed because your workload is pretty high. And depending on what types of claims you have, how the customer's temperament is, what your goals are at your job, it can be easy to get off track. So today I wanted to kind of talk about like, what do you do when you've done all these tricks or you just look around one day and your workload is out of control. These are some tips that have helped me get back on track. I'm actually in the process of getting myself back on track as we speak. So definitely wanted to just kind of discuss those with you. Hopefully I can help some of my seasoned adjusters or people that are kind of on the fence about even staying in the industry. If you're interested, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. Okay, so jumping right in, it may be easier said than done, but once you find yourself in a position where you're extremely overwhelmed with your workload, take a deep breath and realize that it's not all your fault. So unless you are sitting around not doing your work and just kind of BSing on the clock, usually when people get a workload that's out of control, sometimes it's just simply a busy season in claims. Sometimes like somebody may have quit or several people may have quit, and so you're getting transferred the workload of those individuals. You might have several claims that just require way more of you, and so it's putting you in a position where you don't have time to work on other things. So one thing I can say is once you see that you're in that position, take a deep breath, take a step back, and just, know that this will pass. It is something that all adjusters go through at some point or another. It doesn't mean that you're a bad adjuster. It doesn't mean that you're a bad employee. It just means that you're experiencing one of the life cycles of a claims adjuster or claims professional. There's going to be busy seasons. There's going to be slow seasons. I know I've talked about it before too. You're going to have times where, and it's rare, but you're going to have times where you may not have that much work to do. You may actually be super caught up on all of your claims and you might just be sitting around waiting for people to call or waiting to, receive another assignment. Those things happen too. But when you get to a point where, you just feel like you don't know whether you're coming or going, I always say like literally take a break, because there's no way that you can effectively work in that state of mind. It's almost like you're in a state of panic. There's no way that you can work. You're not going to get anything done. So walk away. As I always say, like go take a quick walk, get some fresh air, maybe have, a drink of water. Probably wouldn't suggest drinking any wine or any type of alcoholic beverages on the job because you really ain't gonna get shit done. But just try to be calm, try to remain calm, because you're not gonna stay in this position. This is just where you're at right now. So just, take it for what it is and figure out a way to get yourself out of this situation. Okay, so once you've calmed down and you just simply accept the fact that right now in this moment you are up shit's creek, what you're going to want to do is actually take a look at all of your open claims, all of your activities, and organize them. So what I like to do is organize them from like most urgent to least urgent. Now, I know that if you work in insurance, essentially everything is urgent. They're going to tell you that, everything is on time crunch. Everything needs to be taken care of by a certain time. But the reality is there's going to be certain things that you need to address today and other things that you might be able to let go for a couple of days. So I'll give you a couple examples just so you kind of see where I'm going with this. But like if you're an auto adjuster, for example, I've talked about in different videos that storage, like a vehicle sitting at a body shop or some type of facility where they're being charged daily storage, that's something that you're going to want to deal with right away, because the last thing you want is that car sitting there just accruing storage and either you run out of limits or you just get to a situation where the storage is just way too much, and sometimes even worth more than the vehicle. So things like that where you have something sitting and it's like a time crunch, you want to address those things first so you can kind of get that out of your hair. Also, like if you work in homeowner claims, You want to look at different like water losses. So if somebody needs emergency services, it literally means emergency services. So you want to make sure that you have these things underway, even if you can't get out to the site, or even if you can't address exactly what's going on. You want to make sure that you have a vendor, or make sure that they've gotten themselves a vendor to address things so you don't have secondary damage. So you want to go through and just kind of just separate everything, so you see like, what do I need to take care of like right this second, and what do I have maybe like a few days of leeway to take care of. One thing that I do like to do is like just kind of make a list of like the items that I plan on addressing on like a particular day. Another part of this is you want to understand that you're only one person and you can't do everything in one day. So if you have, let's say, 10 urgent activities, it might only be realistic for you to get through 5 of those in one day, because your phone's gonna ring, you're gonna get emails, things like that. So if you can only get to 5 of those, then get to 5 one day, get to 5 another day. Just make sure that you kind of have like an ongoing list of, okay, these are the things that I need to get like out of here right now, so I can kind of ease my mind. And these are things that I can wait, you know, a couple of days or whatever, until I get myself into a good position to address them. So kind of piggybacking off of the second tip that I gave, I think it's important to tackle the big items first. It might seem more productive to do the smaller things that are quicker, just kind of get those out of the way so you can concentrate on the big things. But I feel like when you do that and you have those big items that are kind of like lingering and just like they're just constantly like over your head, it creates more anxiety and it creates more overwhelm. Whereas if you take care of the big things that really need your attention right away, then you can just kind of start checking those things off as you go. And you also lessen the chance of that particular item blowing up. If it's already blown up, then you can at least kind of catch it where you're in a position to not have it blow up any further, things like that. My biggest thing is when I have customers, and I've said this in other videos, but when I have customers that are like blowing me up, calling me for a bunch of small stuff, you know, constantly reaching out, asking for updates, I try to get rid of those people first, because those people are gonna be who give you anxiety. Those people are gonna be the ones probably most likely to escalate to your manager if they don't get what they need in a timely manner. So if at all possible, try to get some money in their hands right away so you can at least keep them at bay. Things that, again, the things that you determined were urgent after you organize everything, just start tackling those. Get rid of the ones that are considered scary. If you need assistance on something, like maybe something has been sitting because you just simply don't know how to handle it, that's happened to me before, and I'm sure it's happened to plenty of adjusters. You just don't have time to deal with it on a certain day. Actually make time to deal with that situation, because again, you don't want it to blow up out of control. So if it's a situation where it's like a big item but you've never dealt with it before and you're just not sure exactly like how to handle the process, go to your manager, go to a trusted colleague, somebody that you know has experience, go to a trainer, whatever. Or do the research, read the policy, whatever you need to do, but try to work on those things so you can get resolutions. These things are going to help you feel much better and actually like kind of clear your mind so you can work on getting yourself back to a manageable desktop load. Okay, so when it comes to doing overtime, I know I've talked about self-care and mental health, and I don't believe that you should be doing overtime every single week, every single day, because then eventually you get to a point where you're just extremely burned out and all you're doing is working. But when you are overwhelmed and when you have a lot of claims, sometimes overtime is inevitable. Sometimes like you just need to do that OT to get yourself back to a comfortable level so you're not as stressed out during the week. So what I say with that is make sure that you're using your OT strategically. And what works for me is using my OT to take care of those smaller tasks while it's quiet and people don't know that I'm on the clock. I feel like this actually takes some of the pressure off during the week, because even though like some of those activities that you determined weren't as urgent aren't something that you're going to get to right now, they're still lingering in the back of your head and they just start to pile on. One thing I can talk about is like supplements. You'll pay your customer out, you know, right away, and then a contractor will come and say, hey, you know, it's actually not going to be 10,000, it's going to be 17,000 for me to do this work, for example. You do need to set aside a time to go through that estimate, determine what's owed, what's not, make your notes, all that stuff. And then if it's over your limit, you want to make sure that you're, submitting to your manager within a timely fashion so you can get your approval. Or if it's denied, you can get that denial and then work on what needs to be fixed before you can submit the payment again. So I like to use my overtime to not work on new assignments. I like to use my overtime to work on assignments that have been sitting. So things that I haven't been able to get to during the week, like customers that may not be like on my back, but I know I need to get to them and get them taken care of. So I'll use that time to write letters, like reservation of rights letters. I'll use that time to write denial letters. I'll use that time to write payment letters. Whatever it is I need to do, or even sometimes like if I need to write a quick estimate, if I didn't have time to do it, during the day for whatever reason, like maybe my phone was ringing off the hook, I'll write like that small estimate and just kind of save it, and it'll be ready to go when it's time for me to call that person. So just be strategic with your overtime. I think that in order to not have to do overtime all the time, it's important to use the time strategically to make it work for you. The whole point of doing OT is to get yourself into a better position for the week. So you don't want to do, in my opinion, you don't want to do the same things that you're doing during the week. You want to concentrate on something different so you can kind of get those little small activities down so they're not lingering over your head, because during the week you're going to be dealing with more big stuff and you're going to be dealing with people calling you, emailing you constantly. And you just kind of want to clear out some of that background noise. Okay, so my last tip, when you are extremely overwhelmed, sometimes even these tips that I'm giving can seem minuscule if you're still getting like new assignments coming in, because you still have to address these new people that have come. You still have to, get out to their home if you're doing inspections, or just simply call them and provide them with some information if you're a desk adjuster. What you may want to do, and I would use this sparingly, but know that most companies do have it available. If you are extremely overwhelmed and you just kind of find yourself in like this wheel of not being able to catch up, talk to your manager about potentially taking you off of new claims for a few days to give you a chance to catch up. But make sure if you're granted this, you actually use the time to like really catch up. So create a plan for yourself on, where you plan to be by the end of your time being off claims to be able to address new claims. Now, with my company, they're actually big advocates of people taking time off of claims if it's a situation where you're overwhelmed and you just kind of don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Their biggest thing is, we know that if your mental health is in the toilet and if you're extremely overwhelmed, it's not going to make you work harder. It's actually going to make you slow down, and it's going to make you resent the job, which is just a trickle-down effect. Customer service goes down, your quality of work goes down, all that stuff. So my job actually encourages people to speak up if you're in a position where you're just extremely overwhelmed and you just can't, get it together no matter how much overtime you do or no matter how strategically you work your desk. They want you to speak up and let them know. So talk to your managers. Not every company is as open with taking people off of claims, but out of all the 3 carriers I've worked at, there have been times where I've been taken off. There have been times where my colleagues have been taken off. It's just a part of the job. I think that to a certain extent, most companies do understand that you're only one person. And if they want you to represent them in a way that is conducive to them keeping customers, they will allow you that time to just kind of get yourself together. Also, even with that being said, I've had a couple of managers in the past that, notice that the team is overwhelmed. So they'll hop in, on their time and take care of some of those small tasks and things like that. I think one of the biggest things with being an adjuster is just kind of like raising your hand and letting someone know that you're struggling, not dealing with it internally, because that a lot of times will lead to you just simply finding another job or just quitting and, not addressing any of it. So don't be afraid to speak up, especially if you have that relationship with your manager and upper management. Pull your manager aside and just say, hey, like, this is what I'm doing to get back on track. It's not quite working right now. Is it possible, for me to be taken off of assignments for a couple of days? You'd be surprised. Like, I think that a lot of managers, at least in my experience, they do appreciate you being honest and just kind of letting them know, like, hey, I'm overwhelmed. I want to do a good job, but I need some help from you. And that's what they're there for. So consider that. Again, it's not something that you want to use all the time, like, because at the end of the day, you do have a job to do. But for those times when it's just like crazy and you're not eating properly, you're not taking any time for yourself, definitely talk to your management about, taking you off and giving you a little bit of a break. All right, you guys, so that is all I have for you today. I really truly hope that this video helped. Again, we have all been there. If you work in insurance, or if you're thinking about going into insurance and just kind of curious about just kind of like some of the processes and stuff, it's inevitable that you're going to get to a point, at some point, even the best adjusters are going to get to a point where you're just overwhelmed, you know, and you're in a position where you're like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should work on this first. I don't know if I should work on this first. I don't know. I told you guys in my recent car rant, just basically we had a system change. So I was actually doing okay. I was busy, but I was still able to kind of keep on top of everything for the most part. But with the system change, it really kind of like rocked my shit. Not just me, but like my colleagues too. It kind of like rocked us to where a lot of us are like still digging ourselves out of this hole. I can say that they've made some changes, which I'll probably talk about in another video. I told y'all in that car rant that I do kind of want to make like regular videos like that, kind of telling you guys what's going on in real time. But what I can say is that they've made a couple of changes because they see that it's just not going the way they had planned. So they have made a couple of changes to kind of make things a little bit easier. So we'll see within the next like couple of weeks how these changes actually work overall. But yeah, a lot of us are still digging ourselves out of a hole. So right now I'm at a point where I'm almost okay, but I do have a couple of like letters I need to write, calls that I need to make, and just to be honest, some of the calls I don't want to make just because the customers are customers, but I know I got to do it, and I know I feel better once I get it done. So definitely, if you are an adjuster and you have some tips that I didn't speak about here, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Each one teach one. You know, we're here to learn from each other. This is a safe space, so I want to make sure that, you know, like, I don't know everything, so if you know something that, again, I did not touch on, feel free to leave it here. Any other comments, any other questions you have, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. If you have not subscribed and you made it this far, definitely go on ahead and click the subscribe button. Click on that button so you get all my notifications whenever I upload a video. Don't forget to like. And with that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.
You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag.